Conflict in life is inevitable. We try to prevent it, but then all of a sudden we find ourselves locked in a disagreement with other people. In this video, I'll equip you with 4 questions to ask when you're stuck in a conflict to reduce tension and so you can move forward. Welcome to Tug of War Tuesday, when we tackle the tensions and unsolvable problems in life. These videos will equip you to think differently and make better decisions so you can resolve conflicts. You've heard it so many times. You can't change anyone else but yourself. And it's true with conflict too. Now, bear with me while I tell you about something that happened this morning when my husband and I got into let's call it a thing, about running an errand. I let my emotions get totally out of control, and he left the house to do the errand with both of us really mad. Of course, for the first few minutes, I mentally criticized him and defended myself. And that felt good for a little bit. And then I was convicted by the fact that I know Bill is a good man and that he loves me. So I started to wonder, what part did I play in this getting out of hand? When you're stuck in conflict, one question to ask is, what's my part? What makes conflict difficult is that we learn about ourselves, and what we discover may be tough to take in. So we become defensive and we blame the other person. We complain, it's not my fault. She's so sensitive. He's full of himself. Defensiveness is a way of protecting ourselves, which on one hand isn't a bad thing. But the cost of keeping ourselves innocent is missed opportunities for our own growth. When I see the other person only through my own eyes, I'm not able to see what I look like through their eyes. I know my intentions are good and how I mean to come across, but I have no idea how I'm actually coming across. Asking the question, what's my part, doesn't naturally occur to us because we focus on what the other person has done or said. We won't assume any responsibility until the person has admitted and apologized for their part. In the case of this morning's conflict, I admit I knew all along I was going to ask Bill to run that errand for me. I also know he doesn't like to be rushed, but I waited until the last minute when he was going out the door because I didn't want to do it. I got angry at him because he objected to having another stop added to his day. I made it his fault. If I had handled it differently, if I had paused in the moment and asked myself, hey, wait a minute, how am I contributing to this? The outcome, it probably would have been different. Now, answering the question, what's my part? I find that pretty humbling. When I'm selfish or manipulating, controlling, or being inconsiderate, I do that. I don't really feel good. It's not the way I want to be. So instead of protecting myself from the truth, I can wonder, I wonder what it's like to be treated that way by me. In other words, it's like seeing it from the other person's side. How did Bill experience me? Ouch. That thought has an immediate humbling and softening effect on me and opens me up and makes it feel more natural to ask the next question when I'm in the midst of conflict or feeling stuck in a conversation or disagreement. And that question is, what do you want? You can fake curiosity and compassion, but if you do that, it will be like throwing kerosene onto a fire. I'm suggesting you do your best in the moment to pause and get curious about what's actually going on for the other person. You know what's going on for yourself. I play out a little conversation in my mind that goes something like this. I know she's not trying to be a jerk. She's really upset. She's really digging in. Wow, she's really emotional about this. I wonder what's going on. I visualize myself as separate from them, that their experience is happening over there, and that their upset is not part of me. Curiosity about what's happening over there helps me calm down my own emotions and helps me engage the thinking part of my brain. When I do that, I more naturally can ask calmly and sincerely things like, so what do you want right now? What's important to you about this? Or what do you need from me right now? Now, I admit it's tough in the moment to come up with that kind of question. And it may seem odd or strange to ask it because most people don't. But when you demonstrate genuine interest and concern for the other person, it will have an impact. It has an impact on you, right? Now, so far, we've covered 2 questions to ask when stuck in a conflict that can turn disagreements into conversations that lead to good decisions and right relationships. What's my part, and what do you want? Let's move on to a 3rd question that would save a lot of time and frustration if asked even before the conflict starts. And that question is, how do we work this out? How have you learned to handle conflict? If you're like me, it's been a lot of trial and error. And really, I mean a lot of error. It's just not common practice for us to talk about the process we're going to follow to make a decision or come to an agreement. It could have you end up stuck swirling in arguments if you're not clear about how a decision is going to be made. So the question to ask, ideally, before you even begin the conversation is, how will we work this out? How will we reach a decision? Another question could be, when you're stuck in the midst of the conflict, where should we go from here? Or how should we decide? You'll know when it's time to ask these kinds of questions because you're going around in circles, repeating yourselves and getting nowhere, feeling like you're being beat over the head with the same argument. Instead, if you ask, where should we go from here? We're stuck. Creates a pause so you can have that conversation and either make the decision, take a break, or decide what's next. Now, sometimes no one person is in charge and decisions can go up for a vote. It can be demoralizing, though, when the discussion is allowed to go on endlessly. And that's often when things start getting personal and destructive because people are tired and frustrated. If you find yourself in this situation, challenge yourself. It's what I call calling yourself forth and throw out the first idea for how to work this out. You can ask, should we vote? Who gets to break a tie? Should we play rock, paper, scissors? What if you trade your authority to make this decision for approval on the next one? It's negotiating in a way. You know, this is real life here. So talking about what's going on and how you're going to move forward is necessary. It's healthy, and it's really the mature approach. Now, the reason you're probably watching this video is that you'd like to have better outcomes when conflicts come up. So far, I've equipped you with 3 questions to ask when you feel stuck. What's my part? What do you want? And how do we work this out? They're probably new for you and don't feel very natural. If they were, you'd probably already be asking them. As your mentor, I'm challenging you to think about a previous conflict or difficult conversation and replay it, inserting one of these questions where it could fit. Picture in your mind what you might have looked like. What would have been your body language if you asked it? Ask the questions out loud, practicing different tones of voice, like this. So, what do you want? What do you want? How do we work this out? How can we work this out? I promise you, the more you practice, the more likely one of these questions or something similar will come in mind just at the right moment. And you'll wonder, where did that come from? And maybe you'll remember, my mentor, Jane. I want to wrap up this video with one final question. Resolving conflicts and making tough decisions require leadership. And that means taking the risk to speak up for yourself, for others, for doing what's right and what's honorable. You know, we can never know the full impact of speaking up in advance. And the consequences really aren't under your control. But if we don't speak up, we've missed an opportunity to make an impact. So when you find yourself in a conflict, ask yourself one final question. Does this really matter? Of course, that errand this morning didn't matter. And Bill and I, we gave it way too much importance at the time. There are times, though, when values and principles will matter, and when dignity and safety are at stake. These are times when you're being called to be bold, to be brave, and not to back down. In those moments, listen for divine guidance, which I promise you will come, and you'll know what to ask, what to say, and what to do. If you've missed any videos in this series, I've added a link at the end of the description so you can catch up. And I'll include a full list of some related videos also in the description below. As always, if you like what you've heard, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of the next video. I'd be honored if you would share this channel with others you care about. Thank you for watching. I'm your mentor, Jane.